I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And I'm Becca Otis with Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Statesville, North Carolina. And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Oh. All right, we're live, folks. Welcome back.
Woo!
We have an interview today with somebody
Yeah.
new.
Hooray!
Woo!
Becca,
Woo!
who do we have on, Becca?
So, we have Natalie, and and Natalie is a friend that I have known for, oh gosh, I don't know how long. But we were, you know what? I don't even know your last name. Is it Wegman?
Wagner.
Wagner.
Wagner, I was close. Um,
Pretty close.
let's see, we like started chatting on the webs, and then when I went to Chicago, you let me like stay or the
I
uh
hooked you up with Fawn at the digs to
at the
park the
digs,
van.
the ceramic studio, and they let me stay in the parking lot, and they like housed my cat.
Mm.
Um, and it was like a an amazing interaction experience. And and we hung out, and you helped me parallel park in Chicago,
Oh, that sounds like a lot.
and
Was
we
this in
And I got
snuck,
to meet
the big van?
Lloyd
Or what
yeah,
when was this?
in the big van, and we snuck into this apartment complex that
Edgar
used to be
Miller apartment.
Edgar Miller Apartments, that was built by a bunch of artists, and like um it was a good time. It was a good time.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was and I that picture of you in the alley.
I love that picture.
Wait, is that the picture
Um
where you've had it on the
yeah,
workshop
I took
photos where
that.
your hands are like this
Yeah.
kind of?
No, not like
Yeah,
that. Oh, were my hands
they're
like that? I thought my
down.
hands were
No, they're
down.
down.
They're down, but I'm
Yeah.
in this tiny little alley, and I was like the same size as the alley.
Mm.
And
I took that photo.
all I could think of in that all I could think of in that moment was Fat Man in a Little Coat.
Oh, Chris
And
Farley, Tommy Boy.
that's how I felt, and it was the greatest feeling, you know? Like fat lady in a little alley, you know?
Yeah. It was yeah, I'm so proud that I took that photo. Every time I see it on your like
That's a
workshop
good
photo, I was
photo.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I took that
Yeah.
photo. Yeah, no, I that was a fun trip. That was such a weird time in my life, but it was like a fun trip. That was I don't know the timeline if that was like right as like Boys and Girls Club had ended or right before, like when I was still like piloting it. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably 22,
Yeah,
23,
because
something like that.
yeah, it was so we had like talked on the internet and then I think we met for the first time at the Cincinnati and Sika. And then you were coming up to Chicago for like a couple months later to do one of the handmade markets or something.
Hmm.
And that's,
It was
yeah, and that's
yeah, it
when
was like something, whatever handmade.
Market for Makers.
Yeah, Market for Makers, it was a complete bust. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was
And
when you were doing earrings, when you were heavy in earrings.
yep, yep. And I started doing the fancy cups. Yep.
Yep. I have that. It's in my studio. I keep like little tiny things in it and I like run my fingers on the outside of it
Yep.
all the
Mm.
time.
So the fancy cut started in 22, 23, something like that. 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Seemed like it was longer ago than that.
Mm,
I think you were making them before that, but I think you
I
started
was.
like you were leaning back into them.
Hmm.
And that's maybe when you started doing them mid-century modern and using like
Hmm.
the stroking coats at like the really low temperature so they stayed like beads.
Hmm.
Mm.
Like it was like really like it didn't like melt like flat onto it. It stayed like this like really raised thing. I like love
Yeah,
that.
that it was like I was trying to figure all that out, and I
Yeah.
like couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Natalie, are you still I mean, I know you're traveling now, but are you still technically based in Chicago or
Yeah.
Chicago area?
I live in Chicago. I live in Logan Square in Chicago. I have a private studio space at the Digs, which is like an amazing studio in Chicago, and it's primarily like private studios and then shelf rental, and then I teach there. So I teach Nair there, and then this summer I'm doing a planters workshop or a planters class and some workshops, and then um I was doing like or I kind of still am, but I don't know, I'm like weaning off of it. A work trade at Lil Street, and I soda fire at Lil Street, which is like a huge ceramic studio in Chicago. It's the only soda kiln in Chicago, which is like why I fire out of there. And then I teach at a studio in Arlington Heights, which is like 25 miles outside of the city. I teach there. I was teaching there 3 days a week, but I just went down to 2 days because the one of the days was on a weekend, and my show schedule is like too crazy that I couldn't do it. Um, and then I know a couple of the owners in some of the other studios in Chicago, and I'm going to start doing like workshops at some other studios that are kind of in the works. Chicago Clay Cooperative, my friend Michael owns it, and that's a really wonderful space. And then um, I'm going to see if I can teach at the Pottery Studio, which is like a cone 10 reduction studio that's like a chain. Um, my friend Chris Williams is like just started managing there, and I was like, I might do some like workshops there. We'll see.
Nice.
But
You're all
yeah,
over the
so
different studios. It's kind of nice to hear. I feel like at least in Cincinnati, there's a lot of folks that kind of stick to their studio and they don't
yeah,
cross paths a lot. They might see
uh-huh.
each other at different events because they happen to be selling there, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't see a lot of people that teach at like two or three different studios.
Mm-hmm.
I think like I mean the reason like I'm down here in Austin, like, and I'm actually doing a carving workshop at Feats of Clay, which is the studio I'm working out of here. The thing I really love about Austin is how like integrated people are and in all of the studios. I think there's something crazy like 45 studios here, and all of the instructors kind of teach at multiple studios, and the community is just really beautiful and supportive, and I have never felt so welcomed as I have by like the people down here. I don't know if it's Texas hospitality or if it's like a mix of that plus ceramics, but like it's just such a beautiful thing down here. And one of the things that I think I have taken away from being spending so much time down here is really trying to develop more of a community aspect in Chicago. Chicago is very insular like that. There's a couple instructors that kind of bounce around, but like for the most part, a lot of the instructors will just stay at one studio and just like kind of only be at that studio. Um and I think that every studio has something different, and I've always really loved learning from like other people. And like I learn from my students as much as I think that they learn from me. Like I love watching people like be creative and figure things out, and like a uh like and every studio has different things. Like this pottery studio is a reduction studio. Lil Street does reduction, but I've actually never fired reduction there because I only fire soda there because I have to like I do a
Yeah,
work trade, but I
they're
have
the exclusive soda option, so
yeah, yeah. And and then the digs is just like really special because I have that private space. I have like 24-hour access. I can be there as long as I want to. I can be alone or I can be by people. And so and I think every studio has something different to offer, and so it's nice. I find it really nice. And, I think one of the things that um, I've been through a lot myself, like in the last like 4 or 5 years. Like I've been really, ever since 2020, really, I've just been getting kind of like pummeled by life. And I feel like this is like I finally like settled down and like have like a really reestablished myself in the life that I want to have. And so like I started wanting to like restart the Boys and Girls Club. And then like my next big project, once I kind of get like Boys and Girls Club going again, is um I want to start like an Illinois Clay Fest, because Texas Clay Fest down here I think is really what makes this community so strong, is that people can really make a huge portion of their income during Clayfest, and which allows them to the freedom to kind of be creative and not grind as much as we do up in the north, I feel like.
Mhm.
And so after I figure out Boys and Girls Club, like once I get that reestablished, my next big project is Illinois Clay Fest. And um my vision for that is like 90 to 95%. I have a corporate background too, like you. I used to be like a regional director for the Midwest for like a company. I did large scale event management. Um, and I trained, so I oversaw 6 states and 15 locations, and all of their like event marketing budgets. And then I also trained the teams for the East Coast and the West Coast, and I created all of the like large scale event protocols for this company that I work for. And I like really fought that part of who I was once I got back into the arts. I really fought that part of who I am as a person. Like I was like, I'm an artist. I'm not a corporate person. Like fuck corporations and corporate America and blah 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 blah. And I think like one of the things like now that my life has settled down, it's like use those tools to like make the things that I want to see in the world. Like the world's on fire. So like instead of like fighting that I have those skill sets, like use those skill sets to like make the world a better place. Like
Mhm.
make it easier for artists to like thrive. And like Boys and Girls Club, it's like use the ideas and the skills and the like the the like large scale thinking that I'm like capable of as a person to like make sustainable systems to like make the ceramics world more equitable for people who don't have access. So, and
Mhm.
I think art saved me. Like I have a really like crazy like trauma background. My older brother is schizophrenic, I think. I don't actually know his like diagnosis. I'm estranged from him. And I growing up in my house with him was like hell. And it was really bad. And there was mental health on issues on both sides of my parents um like lines. Like both of my grandmothers, like one was schizophrenic and one was just bipolar and mean and evil. And so like the bad behavior was like really normalized, and so my parents didn't really see it. And like art was always the thing that like allowed me to process all of the stuff that I went through, you know. Um that's why I always love Becco. Like when you do your like drawing days and you just do like, you're like one drawing a day, like that stuff is so good for your mental health, like just
It really
being,
is.
yeah, like just being creative and doing all of that. And so like I got into, like I did art all throughout my life, and then like I ran an arts non-for-profit right after college, and then like had all this like drama, and I like stepped away from the art world for like 10 years and did all like the corporate stuff. And then 2020 happened and I was like dying like emotionally, and I found clay and was just like became obsessed and was like basically lit my life on fire. You know, you were talking about all the stuff that you're going through. And like you know, like I was like, I have to change all of these things. Like I need to like be authentic to myself. And so I started slowly, like I was in an abusive relationship. I like got out of that. I switched careers. I moved. I like, you know, changed careers again because my dog hated that I was away from my house all the time. So I started doing gig work, like, and like basically chose to be like poor because my dog, I wanted my dog to be happy, you know, and, you know, and, yeah, and I just like art is the thing, like the through line. I mean, obviously I've done a fuck ton of therapy, but like, you know, like there are periods of my life where I've like gone to therapy like 2 times a week, like for like whole year stretches, you know, to just like get everything out. And but yeah, and I just like Boys and Girls Club to me is just really important because those kids don't have like in Chicago, you know, like some of those kids live like less than a quarter mile away from the lake and they don't know how to swim, you know, like, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't have access to like art programming because like CPS is. Have you guys ever heard of the book Savage Inequalities?
No, I have not.
So it's
Becca, have
like
you heard of
a
that?
book,
I haven't.
it's a book about like the Chicago public school system and how like there's this high school called Lane Tech that like has like everything, you know, and it's basically like all white affluent kids and then like in all of the like public schools that are like in like poor neighborhoods get like no funding. So they have like
Mm-hmm.
no arts programming. And so like after school programs like Boys and Girls Club are like the only place that they can like get these things. And so in 2022, my friend Courtney, she Jeff Bezos had given the Boys and Girls Club, like his ex, Mackenzie Scott, she's like giving away all her money. And she gave them like, let's say it's like $100 million. I don't really know. I don't know what it was, but it was enough that they hired her to be an arts director. And she was running like the Chicago Boys and Girls Club is like, I think there's like 50 um locations. And she started working with them. And I was like, hey, can I volunteer? And she was like, actually, like you're a ceramic artist. You want to like help me? Like do you want to like teach the kids ceramics? And I was like, hell yeah, fuck yeah. And I was like, you don't have to threaten me with a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2022 in the summer, we piloted in Garfield Park, which is like one of the like um really underserved communities in Chicago. Um like we piloted with like air dry clay and like puffy clay to see if the kids would be interested in it. And they were like gung ho, they loved it. And then she was still getting acquainted with all of the clubs and she's like, she's like, I've heard that there are some clubs that have kilns. So she found 2 kilns, like one in on the south side, I think in Bronzeville, and then one in Uptown, the Peterson-McCormick school club in. And we went and looked at them and I was like, this one is not even hooked up and like doesn't like it, you know, like we can't use that one right now. And then the one in at Peterson-McCormick was hooked up and like was a little rough but like was functional. And so we started the program in the summer and I was doing like 2 sets of kids and like they loved it and it was like one of the most like I'm gonna cry. It was just like one of the most beautiful moments, like times in my life. Like watching these kids talk about their lives and like um and like being able to process their feelings and not like have it come out in like negative ways, like, but like this one kid, like his name was Brandon, and it like really like broke my heart. Like he would make miniature things, like all tiny things, and it was because his older brother was really mean to him and would break all of his stuff, and so he wanted to only make small stuff because he could hide it. um and like, and like just, but then like there's like these like beautiful moments where it's like this, one kid, I think his name was MJ, wanted to make like microphones because he wanted to be like a famous rapper, and like, it just, and like robots and just like all of this stuff, and it was just like such a beautiful thing. And I would have to go in and like load kilns and stuff, and I would go find them in the club and be like, "Do you want to come work while I'm like loading the kilns?" And I was like glazing everything for them too, and like just dip glazing it, and they would just like come and like hang out and like while I was working and like work on their projects and stuff. And yeah, and then near the end of the summer, the kiln started like airing out. It was like an E1 on a scut. So it's just like either the elements were bad or the thermocouple's bad, or maybe like a relay or whatever. And so I priced out everything to like get it fixed. And the club determined they didn't have the funding to fix it. And I was willing to like do all the like work myself. And um they determined that they didn't have the money, so like the program just kind of came to a halt. And that was like right around when like I had just gotten out of that relationship. I was driving Uber and I got like assaulted while I was driving Uber. Like this guy like reached in the car and like grabbed me, like just a random guy in River North, which is one of the terrible neighborhoods in Chicago, like yuppie trash. And like, sorry, you can take that out. Just like, it's just like where like people go to in River North, like people go like that are just very privileged and don't understand boundaries. And yeah, so this man like grabbed me in my car, and it just like brought up a lot of like old like trauma, and it just like really messed me up, and I just didn't have the capacity at the time to like run like figure out how to like get the program going.
Because
And
it sounded
then
like it was mainly you that was doing all the ceramics of everything. I mean, it was kind of like,
yeah, it was
hey,
100
we've got this
only me.
opportunity.
Yeah.
You've got a background here. Do you want to just take this on and just have at it? And then you've got to get the approvals to get budgeting and
Yeah, I was
fixes and
writing
all that.
budgets, I was teaching classes, and I was getting paid. Like I did get paid for not for my like admin time, but for like when I was like loading the kilns and like teaching classes, like I was getting an hourly rate for that. But like there's a lot, like writing a budget, like
Yeah. You're
sourcing,
doing
so
like
yeah,
three people's roles. You're a teacher, you're a
yeah,
studio tech, and then you're like head of the department,
exactly. And
like
so
programming, program manager, or,
yeah,
all
and
those
now
things.
I was gonna have to be fundraiser, right? So like
Yeah.
because like they didn't have the money. So I just like didn't have the space for it, like emotionally. And so it basically just was defunct. And
Hmm.
then 2 months ago or a month ago, I don't know, whenever like the Iran stuff started happening, like recently, the day that um Trump said that he was gonna like bomb them into non-existence, I was just like so mad. Like I was just so upset that like this was like the state of our country and like our like, like our political
How we treat one
system. And
another, it's just not,
yeah,
it's not how,
It's yeah, it's a
we should
lot.
treat one another or talk about one another at all.
yeah, like what's
Yeah.
diplomacy? That's not diplomacy. That's like insanity. And
Hmm.
so I was just like really, really mad. And I've been doing a lot of like self work in life and just like, like finding ways to channel things like into positive stuff. And I was like, I mean, I threw some pots at the wall, like I whipped them at a wall in this like vacant lot behind the building to like get the rage out. And then I was like, I need to channel, like I was like, I still have all this rage. And I was like, I need to channel this into something. And so I wrote out a proposal um for like restarting the program. I was like, I need to use this to like make like be the change you wish to see in the world, right? And so I wrote out the proposal, and then the next day I've been really into like just following my intuition lately, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to the club. Like I'm just gonna drive up there and like see who's the program director right now and like see what's up. And I went to the club
The
and
Boys and Girls Club. When you said club at first, I was like, the club? You went out
Yeah,
partying?
getting
No,
down
yeah,
to the
yeah,
Boys
no,
and
no,
Girls
no, no,
club,
Club.
getting
club.
in the club.
Peterson-McCormick Boys and Girls Club in Uptown. And I went in there and I was like talking to the front desk girl, and she was like, you know what? Deja is here. Let me see. And then like literally she was about to like text her, and then like the girl just came in, or the woman just came in. Her name is Deja, and I like told her the whole story, and I was like, I believe that like, the ceramics community is like really supportive. I'm like, I think I could like get like fundraise this. Like I think, I could do a GoFundMe, I could get this like going. And she's like, actually, I have a meeting with the vice president of the overarching organization Boys and Girls Club of Chicago, because that's like an umbrella under like the national one. And she's
Mm.
like, I'm going to be meeting with the vice president on Friday. If you can get me a proposal by Friday, I can have it in front of him. And I was like, bet. Wild ask, but like game on, don't threaten me with a good time. And so I pulled in every favor that I had. Like I have a friend in Canada who does social justice work, named Kale. He's a potter, Mild Child Ceramics on Instagram. Um, Beautiful human. He works with First Nations people, or they work with First Nations people, doing a lot of similar programming. And then one of my exes, who's like basically my family, he um, is really good at getting money from people who are wealthy. And then like my one of my students, Melanie Castillo, she is works at HUD, how that's the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And then some other potters in Chicago took a look at it, and basically they took this like skeleton of what I had and like rewrote it, like, and made it, did like 100 hours of work in 3 days. Like more
Hmm.
or less, and I got this thing put together. And then to I went back to the club because I was like, I was like still working on the budgeting aspect, and like the numbers to like measure. I needed to measure the kiln brick, because I didn't remember what the kiln brick was, like the thickness. Um, and basically then I um, gave it over to her, and she put it in front of the vice president, and uh, yeah, and so then I did a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe's done like $3,500, which was
Hey,
fantastic and beautiful.
that's
Um,
good.
yeah, that's amazing. And then
What's the goal at?
uh, the goal is 18,000 for like the first year, but I got some news. I this like I kind of got this right around when we like had scheduled a thing. They had, I don't know who it was, because I did actually go knock on, like, I know this former hedge fund owner, that my ex used to do like be business partners with. He lives in like Lincoln Park, and this like mansion in like one of the nicer neighborhoods in Chicago, but he's like a beautiful human. His name's Kim Redding, and I knocked on his door and I said, I don't know if you remember me, but I would like you to read this. And then, I gave it to like everybody that I thought could, would be had the right mindset to understand it. And so somebody, I don't know who, but it's at least funded for the first year. So I just found out that it's at least,
Oh, that's
Wow.
great.
yeah. So
That's
Congratulations.
great. Yeah,
yeah.
congrats.
So now I just have to do my background check, which is gonna be a little complicated because I'm in Texas for the next
So
couple of weeks.
so getting it funded and all of that, like that includes getting the essentials for like kiln maintenance and all of that, and then
Yeah.
also paying someone to help with like programming, so it's not all you doing it, or like
So the
what
first,
is kind of the plans for year one,
okay.
starting it back
So
up.
I mean, I'll tell you the 3-year plan because I have a whole, I wanted to, the goal actually, and this is where my like corporate background kind of comes in, is like the goal in like 3 to 4 years is to make the program self-sustaining, in that it funds itself. And so the first year is that $18,000 would cover, it covered some costs for like admin. So like I did call off teaching for that week to like work on the proposal. Like I was just like, I can't be here. Like this is like way too important to me. And then also like I was prepping for this wood fire. So just some money to cover like my expenses because I'm, a working artist and I don't make a lot of money. I'm live
Mm-hmm.
paycheck to paycheck essentially. And so cover that, cover kiln, like getting new kiln parts, also potentially backup kiln parts,
Definitely.
getting yeah, getting new glaze, new all of that stuff. So like all of those things, and then it would also cover like teaching and tech hours. So the first year I would really just be doing like probably like 2 sections like I did in the summer, 2 to 3 sections um a week with different age groups, and then like getting the kids like acquainted with clay again. And then as the years go, so like year 2 and year 3, so year 2 would be expanding that and like developing like, like kind of a track of like things, like I mean we did
Like a beginner
when I was,
intermediate kind of
yeah, exactly. And
class
then
structure.
yeah, and then year 3 would be implementing an apprenticeship program. So the kids, that there were a number of kids in the clubs that were like very into the arts and like very talented. They hadn't had clay because the clay program wasn't working. But like getting kids like that interested into clay, and then basically creating um, things that we can sell. So one of the ways that I support myself currently is I sell on a live auction platform called Palm Street. I'm really into
Hmm.
plants, and it's basically like it's a place where plant nerds can go and buy on auction plants. And then also there's a number of potters that sell on there, like people who make planters. Um, and it's been like a really kind of game changer for me. I have like chronic
Really?
pain. Yeah, I have chronic pain, so like doing shows is just like a lot, like schlepping things. And then
I
like I just,
understand completely.
yes, I know you're a fibromyalgia baby, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I haven't officially been diagnosed, but I'll tell you what, uh, they gave me medicine for it and it fixed it. So
So that's all that matters,
yeah, but then
right?
I'm off of it, so I'm back to it. I'm back to the pain.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so it shows are a lot. I mean, I like doing them, but it just takes it out of me. Like I'm usually like wiped out for like 3 or 4 days after a show.
Hmm.
And then websites just suck. Like having to like, my work is so one off for the most part that like in order for me to like put stuff on a website, I'd have to take photographs of like 3 to 5 photographs of like 75 pieces, and then like work on SEO,
Yeah.
and like, and I'm a working artist. I don't have time for that, So Palm Street, I just go act stupid on the internet and like talk about plants, which is like a hyper fixation, and like talk and then like talk about my work and sell it. And like I went live for an hour yesterday, and made like $320, like, like for an hour, like.
We're gonna
So
need to
you're
talk about
actively
this.
you're
Yeah,
talking about the work, you're showing the work, people are
yeah,
buying it through like an auction format within a certain
yeah,
period of time.
yeah.
Kind of like it sounds like Whatnot to some extent.
Exactly. It's
Whatnot's kind of
exactly
a
like
similar.
Whatnot. Yeah, the reason I got into Palm Street is that I heard about it on like a plant YouTuber. Like from a plant YouTuber, he had bought a pot off of Palm Street. And then my one of my students in one of my classes, she started selling like bag charms, and like like she like refinishes like Coach bags, and sells them on Whatnot. And so I was like asking her questions about it in class, and then I started selling on Palm Street. So I've been selling on Palm Street for like 3 months. I don't do it that often because it's like I had to make like planters for to sell on it, like
Hmm.
because it's primarily, but like I think, but the idea is that I could be selling, like the kids could be making, like we could make planters by the kids, have the kids make planters and sell them on Palm Street. They could be doing functional wear. Like people are trying to buy my functional wear. I just haven't sold it on there yet. But I would assume, like if you have like kids that made this, like I people are gonna want to buy it. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
story of it. So the goal is to do that, to like sustain the program after the third year, and then simultaneously they have like other programming. So the idea is that it would sustain the ceramics program and help partially sustain other programs. So like
Hmm.
the girls program, like, is they do like a tea party every year. And so it's like, okay, well, we could make like a cup and saucer, like have the kids make cups and saucers that like the tea is served in at the tea party, and then like the people who come to it can like buy them as like a way of like supporting both programs, or
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
and so that's like what the long-term goal for like this club is. And then theoretically, like I could just blueprint this program to other clubs.
Becca, your hand is
um
up.
My hand is up because I don't want to interrupt. But I do want to recommend a God, I'm gonna have to figure out. I think it's the Harrison Center. Yeah, it's the Harrison Center in
yeah,
Indianapolis.
okay.
Uh, Let me look it up really quick. And they have a I don't know if it's completely self-sustaining, but they have a program for adults with Down syndrome and other, I don't know if it's other mental disabilities as well, but whatever.
Mm,
But regardless, so they like all gather and make these amazing things, you know?
mm-hmm.
And I used to fix their kilns.
Hey, it's Taylor here from Backyard Kiln to tell you again how amazing my L&L kiln is. I bought it secondhand out of someone's carport with no idea if it even worked, and I learned to replace the elements and the controller and the thermocouples and install a vent system all from their free video support library. They've designed these kilns to be so user-serviceable, it doesn't take a whole lot of know-how or any fancy tools. I had never touched a kiln before, and I was able to do basic maintenance just after watching some videos. And if I ever had a question or wasn't sure what to do, I just emailed or called their customer service line, and they were able to help me right away. Even now, they still help me out for free, even though it is a super old kiln, like older than my teenager, and still working perfectly, unlike my teenager. You know, the kiln does not complain, and it does what I ask it to the first time. Anyway, if you are thinking about buying a kiln or upgrading the one you have, definitely consider L&L. They are all I want to use for the rest of my pottery career. Check them out at hotkilns.com. That's HOTKILNS.com. Okay, back to the show.
and it is the Harrison Center.
Mm-hmm.
And so and they have lining the walls, they have all of these pots and these little trinkets and like ornaments and everything that these human beings have been making. And I would call them and just chat with them.
Totally.
Um,
Or
I'm
maybe a
down.
because
I
visit might
mean,
be.
yeah, because I
my
know that you would be down to do that, but I think that, and I don't, I'm trying to like figure out community initiative, but it's like in the Harrison Center. I don't know if it's um like I don't know if it's like I know it's inside. I do not know if it's related. I guess I don't know, like I don't know what the word I'm trying to use is like
But it sounds like a good
associated.
template or, blueprint for
yeah.
some of what you're
Hmm.
looking for.
Yeah, and
Exactly. I mean,
it sounds very similar.
I
So,
think like in Chicago there's I don't know if you
Art
guys are
Place.
familiar Art Place.
It's Art Place. It's called Art Place.
There's an artist called Theaster Gates. He's like a large scale installation artist. Like he's
He's
really
in Chicago,
famous.
right?
Yeah, and he has a ceramics business where he um hires kids from like I think the South and West Side primarily and like gives them, a sustainable lifestyle. And like the idea is that this program would be teaching the kids like real world like uh hold on, sorry, my car is like you've been sitting and are running the engine for too long. Uh he so the idea is that this could either be like a funnel to that program for them or just like a blueprint for them on how to like be professional artists like on their
Mm-hmm.
own,
Mm-hmm.
and because I do believe that you can support yourself as a working artist. I mean, I'm doing it, and I love my life and like it keeps me sane in an insane world and and I just like I grew up in a like I have a crazy trauma background, but like I grew up in a really affluent community and so I had access to things, like and but like these kids don't have access to that and I just think it's really important. So,
With the kids that are coming to the Boys and Girls Club, is it just open for anyone that wants to come and it's typically kids that are within that local community go there after school, or do they partner with the schools locally? How are the kids connected to the club itself?
so there are some clubs that are in schools. Like in Chicago, there's I think like 40 or 50 clubs. Some of them are in schools, some of them are like standalone buildings. So like the building that the Peterson-McCormick is a standalone. And they all have different like funding things. Like it's definitely not it's kind of it's all donor, so it's like they're nonprofits. And so like, to bring it back to savage inequalities, like it's not dissimilar to like the public schools and that like the ones that like more affluent kids go to tend to have better funding and better programming.
Hmm.
Um, but
I'm
they
putting it in the chat, by the way.
yeah, they are okay, cool. They are like they're nonprofit, so they're donor like specific programs like programs within each club are like basically like funded by people like the kids themselves. Like I want to say like it's like $200 for like after school like care for like the a month or a semester or whatever. It's like way under market value for like what you would have to like what you would pay for daycare like anywhere else. And so
Okay, so
it's
they're not just walk-ins. They
no.
are paying a monthly rate to be there, and then their
Yeah.
parent picks them up at 6 p.m. on a
Yeah.
daily basis, Monday through Friday, for
Yeah.
example, and you all are there in the art room? And then do
Hmm.
they have a decision of like, I'm scheduled to be in art on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or is it more open-ended and they can really do whatever they want on the premises as long as they're being supervised?
Um, Generally speaking, they have to be in certain parts of the club. Like there are free times for them, but like things like ceramics, there's like computer classes, there's like dance classes and stuff like that. Those are all like time specific and the kids have to sign up for them. Like they
Mm.
have to want to be in it. So it's
Okay.
kids that are invested. It's not necessarily
Yeah,
just,
good.
yeah, it's and
Do they
like the
pay
kids
additional
are
fees for each of those, or is that under
no.
their umbrella of like the 200 a month they pay? They just have to pick a spot and like claim that spot for that session or that semester or whatever.
My understanding is that they just pick it and that
Okay.
and they get to be there. I and I put caps on how many kids could be in the room because a lot of them have um behavioral issues. So
Mm.
like I if I'm by myself, I can only have 8 kids. If I did tell them like if they have like if I have a support staff, so when I was running it in 2023, I would let like 14 kids be in the room, but then I had to have somebody from the club in the classroom with me because then they just get like really unruly
Hmm.
and it becomes like they're like running around and like it's like kilns and
Yeah.
It's not
yeah.
beneficial for children to have an adult that can't handle all of them
Yeah, exactly. And you have to
because
be pretty
children are
firm
a
with
lot of
them.
work. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to be pretty firm with them. And like once,
yeah,
like after the first couple times, like, I'd have to kind of come down kind of hard and be like, these are the rules. And then they like respected it because they wanted to be there. You know what I mean? So they like once
yeah.
they realized that I was like, okay, this is like the boundary, they were, but they're definitely test you like and so yeah, it's like 8 kids. So I do want to start expanding it and having like ideally if enough kids want to do it, like I would like to have a second teacher there with me and like have, more in-depth programming and things like that as like we go along.
Hmm.
But in the beginning it's just going to be me again and that's fine. I it's a passion project. It's something that like I mean obviously like I didn't stop thinking about it. Actually, when I went back to measure the kiln, it was like really heartbreaking. Um, we went and opened the cage, like, because I was talking to the director and I was like, kiln, and she's like, what is a kiln? And I was like, oh my God, I live in a bubble, like a ceramics bubble. And she took me up there and we were supposed to run the program in the fall. And so there was like greenware like that is from 2023, like the kids from 2023, on the tables and shelves untouched.
Left
Like they had not
untouched and not fired since because the kiln just wasn't working. So
for
it's
three
like
years.
nothing changed since you left it.
Nothing. Mm-mm.
Wow. I
I cried. I just started sobbing. I was
I
just
mean,
like, it's
better
like,
than them like tucking all that stuff in a corner somewhere because they're like, we need to
yeah.
use this room now. And
Yeah. I mean, the Peterson-McCormick is a huge club. It's like 3 or 4 floors. There's a whole floor just dedicated to the arts. So like different rooms. Well, no, there's a science room on that floor too, but
No.
um
Art
uh
and science are together.
yeah, especially ceramics, right?
Mm-hmm. It's
RIP. So,
yeah, it's like I think that I mean you think about Da Vinci and how like invested in mathematics and stuff he
mhm.
was, and like we really discount the fact that art and science are extremely similar. So
Mhm.
I approve of the science room being on that floor.
Yeah,
how
same, right?
with
Maybe we'll do a glaze making class
Yeah.
oh, there you
for
go.
like the apprenticeship program. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So
But
with like starting this program back up, I know you kind of talked about you weren't necessarily in the past in the right mental space. How important is it for you to be in a good stability place for yourself before you can dive back into helping a wider audience and a bigger group, like with more meaning, how important is it for you to feel like settled and in a good space yourself?
I mean, I think I am in a good space at this point. I think like the last 3 years were me not being able to do it and knowing that I couldn't do it, you know? I think like 2025 was like a big shift for me in terms of like fully supporting myself. Like I was basically doing gig work up until like halfway through 2025, and the midway point of 2025 I was like, I just have to figure this out, you know? And like, I basically was like eating ramen and rice and beans for like a few months while I was like prepping for holiday, and and just really like leaning and trusting that like I could do it, you know? And now, yeah, I mean, I've just really like the biggest thing, I think like the biggest hindrance for me before was the idea that everything was because I'd been through so much bad shit in my life. Like every time I'd have like a setback, like I didn't have my car for 6 months in 2020, at the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025, because like I had to like replace my like thermostat, and like my car's a Mini Cooper Countryman with a turbo engine, and I work on my own car, and I was like, I don't have the money and the time to do this, and like you know, just trying to survive. And
Well, it
now I'm in a
snowballs when
place,
something goes wrong. It feels like
yeah.
something else goes wrong, and then you're just set back further and further.
Yeah, and then you know, I'm like, you know, and now it's like, you know, like right before my trip to Austin, I got two flat tires, and my like electric was shut off because like my information, my credit card information was stolen, and like my auto pay, I forgot to switch my auto pay, and so it's like I had, and my car has run flats, which are really expensive tires. So it's like I had to like do two tires and like come up with this stuff. And it's like that, those things would have like crushed me like a few years ago, you know, like I would have just like wallowed in that. And now I'm just like, I've figured it out every other time I'm going to figure it out, you know, and
Hmm.
I'm able to like keep my head about myself in a way that like I is like fairly new to me, like with everything that I've been going through, you know? And so I think like I'm not to say that I won't have like a bad mental health situation, you know, like maybe somebody close to me is gonna pass away and it's gonna affect me in like whatever way, or, you know, my knee is gonna be fucked up. But like I think that I've really had this like mentality shift of like I'm capable of so much and I know I'm capable of it. And so I just need to trust that I'll figure it out because I've figured it out
Hmm.
every other time. And, um, and like, I think that like the program will offer me a financial stability and like also just like emotional enrichment. Like working with those kids is like so fulfilling, you know, like
Hmm.
going there and like hanging out with them. And I've also just like really developed like a really strong gratitude and joy practice like in my life. And like even in the midst of like chaos, I can be like, look at how beautiful this flower is, you know, like, or like, you know,
Hmm.
and like, yeah, my fucking shit exploded in the kiln and I lost, you know, $1,000 worth of mugs because I was being cocky and put too what of work in a kiln and rushed the firing, you know, but like what a joy it is to like struggle at doing something you love, you know?
And then you're confident that you can bounce back from it. It's not,
Yeah,
you're not set back even further, and you can't afford to replace the materials and make new stuff and
yeah,
bounce
exactly,
back.
you know? Yeah, so I don't like, I think I'm just like at a place where I'm like I'm ready. Like I did all these like transitional things. I like worked through a lot of like personal healing, and now it's like okay, I'm back, like I'm like let's go. Like let's do all the things that have been in my brain for like 3, 4 years that like I just like knew that I needed to like heal first and like
Hmm.
stabilize my life first. And like I'm finally at that point. And so now it's just like, burners on, like let's blast stuff.
Hmm. Becca, you
So
had your hand up for a second.
Oh, I wanted to tell you about this video I saw today that was the most applicable video I've ever seen in my fucking life. And
hell
it
yeah.
was a,
Somebody today, side note, somebody today said they love the shit that you post on Instagram, just so you know, in the studio, one of the people who works at a studio that I met.
oh, I try to post things that, especially if I'm like having a bad day, I try to post things that make me have a better day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, so
So this
today
video is applicable.
yes, it's very applicable. Let me see if I can find it because I want to like say, I actually have two things to say. I'm gonna get off pretty soon, probably. You can keep talking. Um,
Hmm.
because I gotta work. I got a job. But this video I saw today was of a little animated video, and I reposted it to my story.
All right, I'll
And
have to watch it.
oh, whoops, there we go. And it's from Netflix and movies, and it's this. I don't even know what kind of animal this is. It might be a chipmunk. It might not be. I don't fucking know. It's got a mohawk, but the first thing you see is him like sticking his face into something in the water, and you find out that he's making a snorkel
Oh,
that's like entirely made out of plants and shit. And
oh.
and so he's making a snorkel, right? And he cuts it so that it fits his face. And then he walks in the water and realizes he can't breathe. And then every single every single cut, he's like on the ground, like almost drowned and like breathing really heavily because he's failed. And and then he like puts the snorkel part up and then realizes that he can't walk down. And then he makes the snorkel part longer and realizes that it falls over. And then he like sees a turtle like going past him or something and realizes that it needs to float. And so like he goes through like 17 different failures. That's what it felt like. 17
Yeah.
different failures and each time like improving just a smidge. And then finally there's like a second video. I don't know where it was. And I don't even fucking care if it was AI. I could care less. Um uh I don't know if it was, but it doesn't seem like I don't care. It made me happy. And then the second video, I didn't post it, but the second video is of him swimming in the water and seeing all this life and like reaping the benefits of all the shit he went through in, I would assume, the last day of like trying to make this snorkel and like the him reaping all those benefits. And
Hmm.
I was like, I have never felt more fucking seen by a tiny squirrel chipmunk thing in my goddamn life. Like, that's how my entire life has felt, except
Yeah.
for I typically take 4 steps back, but
Hmm.
that's how it's felt. And it was like, it like shows you that, it is worth it. It is worth getting back
Hmm.
up and like moving forward
Hmm.
again. So anyway, I'll send it to you on the Insta webs right now.
Yes.
Um,
No, I mean that's like how life has felt for me. And it was like the last like 3 years was just like, okay, this is like a moment where I need to like put my own oxygen mask on, after I've tried to
yeah,
drown myself, you know?
yeah.
You know?
Okay,
Yeah.
but I want to say the next thing because I was gonna text this to Ryan and I kind of got too excited and I forgot to send it. Um, so, but I know, I know that you will also enjoy it. I actually think this is something that everybody should listen to. Even Taylor, who hates AI. Um, Cause it's and I'm maybe Ryan's already listened to it. It's the Diary of the CEO which I do enjoy, and I think Ryan was the one that told me I had to listen to it. Um, and the episode on March 16th, Daniel Priestley, and the title says plumbers will earn more than lawyers. I predicted 2008. Now I'm warning about 2029. And in the first 30 minutes of this goddamn episode, I was like, holy shit. He just gave a 7-step program how to start a fucking business. And I was so fucking stoked by the end of it. Like I felt like it just kept getting better, you
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
know? And he like there's some nuggets in there that are so good for anybody that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be an entrepreneur or start their own business. And it's 2 hours and 5 minutes, so it's a hefty one. And it's not heftier than us. Like we do that anyway.
Hmm.
But did you read that? Did you listen to that one?
I did not listen to that one. I dip in and out of the different episodes. So what specifically from that got you energized? Was it just like putting into perspective the things that you'd known, but it kind of like connected the dots in a way that felt manageable and something that
You're
you
such a
wanted to
good
pursue,
question
or
asker, Ryan.
Yeah, that's why he does the interviews. If you haven't noticed, I haven't talked very much. Um, I'm sending this one to Ryan. I think I have your phone number, Natalie. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna text it to you too. Uh, yeah, Natalie Chicago. Anyway, so I have no idea because
because
since
I know
then,
you tend to feel not motivated very much. So when something does motivate you and gets you excited and energized and like thinking, okay, like it just put it into perspective in a way, it like clicked that puzzle piece in.
yeah,
There had
it
to
was
be
like
something about it that sparked it for you.
God, there was like in well, there was a two-part, right? Because my sister Betsy is really struggling with like wanting to make like a business for herself, but she's also disabled, so like it's been a talk about using AI and shit like that. And so and I when I was listening to it, I was like, damn, she needs to listen to this because it was really encouraging. And so there was that. But I think that there was this one fucking part, and he was like I think he was talking about like you get the idea, you research the idea, you test the idea, you go back and you do this, and then you do this. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, you're iterating on an idea. You're getting closer and closer to.
Right, right, right. And also it was talking about like and also on top of that, he was talking about how he did not have any skills like starting out. Like he like flunked school, like he literally like spent his last money just to like put an ad in the newspaper and was like betting it all on that, you know? And like he seemed like he would go um
Hey, it's Taylor, here to tell you about another great way to improve your pottery making. If you've ever wished your carving tools were just a little more flexible, Bushcraft might be worth a look. The Dragonfly system from Bushcraft lets you either grab a single handle and blade to get started, or go with the starter detail kit, which comes with 3 handles and 8 blades, so you can try out a range of marks and keep multiple tools ready to go. The handle feels really natural, more like holding a pen, and everything locks in tight. And when you want to switch blades, it's quick. You don't need any extra tools. They offer a lot of blade shapes depending on how you like to carve, from fine detail work to more aggressive cuts. And the nice part is, it's not expensive to keep up with. Replacement blades are affordable, so you can actually use them as much as you want. If you want to check it out, head to bushcraft.shop and use code BKWheelTalk26 for 15% off your order. That's BUSCHKRAFT.shop and use code BKWheelTalk26. Some exclusions may apply. Okay, back to the show.
he said that he like made $1 million, he lost $1 million. He like made $10 million, he lost the company. Like,
Hmm.
and so he's gone up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And it just felt very. And then one thing he said was like, I think because the English guy asked him,
Steven, yeah.
yeah, that guy asked him, if in like if I had told you everything that was going to happen, you losing these companies, gaining these companies, losing, gaining, losing, gaining, because he asked him to do like a pie chart of his like success and failures, and it was like a fucking like
Roller
like a
coaster. Yeah.
yeah, like a heart,
Mm-hmm.
like a heart beating up and down. And in 15 years, by the way, it was only in 15-year span. And he was like, if I asked you if you wanted to do all of that again, knowing what you would go through, would you want to do it again? And he said yes. And he was like, he goes, honestly, I think I just like the roller coaster.
Hmm.
He's
Some
like,
people, I
uh-huh.
mean, I think you kind of need that zest for like the challenge, the excitement,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
And
realizing
I just
that
felt like he had
you
a
can
lot of
recover
truth
from it too if
bombs.
something goes wrong.
Now, to be fair, I do feel like my brain, I have a brain fog that has been lifted recently. So that has a lot to do with it too, I think. But also, like, I've been thinking about work a lot and like how they, like businesses treat employees and like all those things and like how employees feel valued and like and just like all that type of shit. And I feel like it hit on every fucking thing that I've been thinking about recently. But also, I will note that I listened to another one today that made me forget everything yesterday. So, like, I that was about something completely different. So, I'm not saying that it like stuck with me, but I'll probably go back and listen to it again. But
Hmm.
just
Hell yeah.
feel I just feel like it had some really good notes,
Yeah, I'll
you
look
know.
into that one. I've seen that specific guy on that podcast before on a panel. Yeah, I think, and
He
some of
was
what he's
very
touching on is like,
personable.
yeah, his entrepreneurship
Yeah. And now a
savvy
lot
and
of it
like
dealt with AI and how to like utilize AI and and I think that oh, it's all coming back to me now. I think that one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was that he was realistic about it. He was like there's a lot of things that are going to be really shitty, but there's some things that are going to be really great, you know? And now, to be fair, you could tell that he was very biased
mhm.
and which I'm not I don't have a problem with because I think people should be biased. But
I think if you don't have opinion, you're disingenuous,
Be honest
yeah.
about your biases
Like you
because
can be,
yeah.
you can acknowledge that you don't know things, but I think once you
Yeah.
know things, I think you have to have an opinion. And if you say you don't have an opinion, I think you're just copping out.
Yeah. And one would argue that I am very uh was it influenceable.
Gullible
So,
or
no,
motive, not gullible, but
influenceable.
uh,
Influenceable.
influenceable.
So like if somebody says something that I feel like is smart, I'm like, oh yeah. And,
If
and
it's
if
got
somebody
yeah, if it's
and
got the
if
right
somebody like next to him is like, no, this is why, and I'm like, oh yeah. So um but I do feel like he had some solid thoughts and good intentions. So
and then the thing is, what do you do with it? And then like do you
yeah.
so
What
well
do
that's
you do
good. I
with
think
it?
yeah, hearing conversations from folks that hopefully get you a little bit excited about the next thing. And then your
Yeah.
brain starts
And I
going down
think,
the path of, okay, well, what do I want to do with this program? And like, what do I do at that point? What if I run into a roadblock? How am I going to fix this if this comes up? Am I prepared for it?
yeah,
You know,
it's like doing what and not everybody has to be like working on like passion projects, but like genuinely like loving what you're doing and like doing what you think authentically like works for you and like is important. And that guy is an entrepreneur and it's like clear he loves the act of building things. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that I feel like pretty like I can totally see like how you kind of like made the connection there because it's like I'm doing this because it's like something I genuinely love and I am good at building things. Like I have done it, in like other iterations of my life and like now I'm just taking it and aligning it with my ceramics, and it's like taking my core values of like community and like art as like you know, like healing and kind of coalescing all of those things together, and so it's like I was selling on that platform yesterday, or maybe it was a couple days ago, but somebody had their name was like diff with like periods, and I was like, what does diff stand for? And they're like, do it for fun. And that's like,
Mm.
I feel like I'm gonna get a tattoo of it while I'm down here, and then it's like I do it for fun, try to make it fun, like
Mm-hmm.
even if you're doing something shitty, like try to find the joy and like like
The
make it,
value.
yeah, gamify life, if you will.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean that's why, like, I know I mentioned it already, but like you're like drawing a day. Like, I mean, I think you've done it a few different times where it's like you either like doing like a painting a day, or like painting a cup a day, or like whatever it is, and it's like you're like there's no expectation beyond like inspiration. And I think that like I always like held on to that from you, like, and this idea of like finding ways to make like something that maybe is not always like, it's your job. Like ceramics is my job, and it's like, how do I make that something that I love, and I think
Yeah,
that's
and
always something
I think that like and like some people just cannot get over the fact that sometimes you don't have to sell something.
yeah,
Um, which I think is sad. But also
yeah,
like the way we're kind of conditioned. And like don't like I still sell things like but like sometimes I'll do like a painting just for funsies. Like I had a really rough night a couple weeks ago and I came in here and I just drew something. It looked really shitty. It was like whatever. And I just drew it and didn't and it like 10 out of 10 whips me out of shit. Like turned it around. And then
exactly.
and then afterwards I was like, I'll just see if anybody wants it. I cut it in half and made it small enough and I like put stamps on it and shit. And I made it small enough to fit in a 4x6 envelope. And I said, if you want this, it's $5. Or no, I think it was
Somebody
$6
bought
because,
it.
yeah, somebody paid 11 whole dollars for two little paintings. And,
There you go. Nice.
like, I had not planned on selling it. But the reward of getting 11 whole dollars for two shitty paintings actually is way, way better than getting 100 whole dollars for a mug that I spent 45 years on. And, like, it just, it
Yeah, you
just,
didn't draw it with the intention of selling it, but you
no.
happen to be like, "Oh, I'm done with it. Maybe somebody else will like it."
Yeah. And I mean, like, and I actually did afterwards. I was like, maybe I could just like make $5 paintings. And I quickly forgot that. But, because then it would turn into something and I don't want it to do that. But I think we undervalue things with
The
no
act of
value.
making for the sake of me. Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm doing this wood fire like down here. I'm down here for a month. I don't think you were on yet, Becca,
Yeah, I
when
heard
Ryan
I
and I
heard a
were
part of it,
talking.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm doing a wood fire, and well, first off, I made a sculpture, this giant sculpture that I don't think I'll emotionally be able to sell. Like I was like just felt compelled to make this thing, it's based off of a painting I did in college. I was like, I just have to make this painting, and I like didn't do any production work for this wood firing other than like three like pedestal planters that are in there. And I I had extra space. And so I had like I went to like a my friends at the digs and was like, "Do you want to make something for this kiln?" And at first they were like, "Oh, what could I make to sell?" And I was like, "No, no. This is like a joy project. Like you are like I want you to make something that you keep for yourself that's like touched by this place that I love,
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like a gift I'm giving you, like I want you to have something beautiful from this place, like the eye of the dog that is so special to me, like, and yeah, and then it was like, and like I got to put my friends' pieces in this kiln, and like it's just like, I don't know. I mean, it just feels like really special and important. And like it was like once they like just did it for joy, it was like they didn't make stuff like they normally make, you know? Like it was like they made like, I don't know, it was beautiful. I mean, they did
They
kind
made
of, but it
stuff
was like,
they wanted. They made stuff
yeah,
they wanted.
exactly.
I haven't made something I wanted in so many fucking years. Like, I mean, like pottery wise. But,
Yeah.
well, no, that's a lie. I made one thing, I guess. But, I know when you said that, I was just looking at this, like I don't know if you can see it,
Yeah,
but
it's like
I
a
can see
bud
it.
vase sort of.
it's just like a raccoon, little vase. And I threw the vase. It was, part of like 150 vases that I made for the Beal Pottery for their big party that they do. Which, by the way, Natalie, you
Mhm.
should definitely go to when you're back in Chicago.
Okay.
And they have a big Rhythm and Raku festival,
Hmm.
Okay.
and it's in their house, and they have 5 acres. It's insane. You can camp.
Isn't there like studio in their house?
Yeah, it's like they have a barn, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, this is potentially the first piece that I've made, pottery piece that I've just made for funsies. Like, I didn't,
Mhm.
to be fair, I did not make it for funsies. I made it to help them out and like to pay my way living on their
Yeah.
land for a summer, but I did paint it for funsies. And
Okay.
and it's just been chilling in my car, in the van for a while, and now I finally get to kind of like look at it some days and see how nice it
Yeah.
looks, and like we don't really appreciate that stuff anymore once we start making stuff.
Yeah, I fight that a lot, I
Yeah.
think I really like, cause I actually just made like some pots to go in the reduction kiln here. And uh I like whipped these pieces out, and they were like, wow, you made those really fast. And like I think that my work, like my carved work, is really my like rejection of capitalism. I'm like, I'm doing this because I want to do this. Like, and like I definitely, on my like fully carved work, like they're expensive. Like I sell those mugs for like $200, and like I'm not making a living wage off of those. Like the
No.
amount of time that goes into them, like between like throwing, planning the carving, carving it out, cleaning it up, putting slips on it, latexing it for like before I like glaze it, like, and then, like all of that stuff. Like I'm not like, making like like a good hourly wage. It's just like I literally am like do it for fun. Like just like
Yeah.
fighting my way against capitalism. Like I exist in capitalism, but I am not a capitalist. So I I think, I've played capitalism. Like I was like very successful in the corporate world, and I hated it, and I hated
Well,
my life.
what's interesting is that guy that does the podcast talks about capitalism, and I never thought about it the way he said it, and I was like, fuck. And so, I'm not saying that he changed my opinion on certain things or did or didn't, but I would say go into that with a very just listen to the whole thing. Don't and
I
then
will.
make your yeah.
I'm not a capitalist. I think that there are ways that you can exist with like in capitalism. I think that use it, like pull the levers in a good way. Like, and that's, I think, why I want to do, like, why I restarted Boys and Girls Club, and then also like why I want to do Illinois Clay Fest, because it's like
Yeah.
if we have to live within this system, let's like build the things that make it easier for the things that I care about, like,
Mm-hmm.
and the people I care about. And like ultimately, like, not to be all like woo woo yah, but like fucking change the world. Like let's prove them wrong, that like artists aren't starving, and that like, you know, art is like, artists aren't crazy, but in fact like artists are like healing and like, sane, like it's so that's, like I'm not, I mean, I say I'm not a capitalist, but like, I mean, it is, you have to,
You don't
you're
have to
not gonna,
defend yourself. Nobody's
yeah,
you're good.
Yeah.
You're
yeah,
good. Yeah.
But also, like looking at the club, in order for the club to sustain long term, you have to look at it
yeah,
in a way to be able to pay for itself. Because if not, you're
exactly,
just like any other nonprofit that is underfunded, understaffed, overworked,
exactly.
and you're left to be, oh, I don't know what that
Burnt
mental
out.
state is after that or during it, but you're not in a good
Yeah,
state.
Yeah.
exactly,
And then you're
exactly.
like
I mean,
thrown
when I was,
away as, the the who whatever's left over of
yeah, when
all of that.
I ran an arts non-for-profit gallery for a year, and like I poured myself into that place, and like, I ran the space, like we had like a 6 week rotation on like shows. And then part of what I did was like curate 40,000 square feet of like pop-up gallery space in vacant storefronts along, like, that ran in tandem with like a street festival. And it like burnt me out so hard that like the moment there was like some political drama, there was like this whole thing where it was like, the main benefactor of the nonprofit like is like a gentrifier in Chicago. And this artist put up a smear campaign against him in one of the galleries. And um I called his director of operations and was like, I just want you to know this is here. And he was like, or the not him, but his director of operations was like, you need to take it down. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I will not take it down. Like, I'm not touching that like piece of art. And they're like, if you don't take it down, um, I'm gonna shut down all of the galleries for the festival. And I was like, you do what you have to do, but I'm not touching the art. And called his bluff. And then so they like called back the next day, and this is like the day before the festival, and was like, we're gonna send someone to take it down. And I was like, you do whatever you have to do, but like I am in no way gonna be involved in this. And like, and then like the artist had like called like Block Club Chicago and like other news outlets, and like I was getting like questions about it. And I was just like, what the hell? I was so burnt out that I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I ethically can't do this anymore. Like, this is not worth it. Nobody else is losing any sleep over this. So,
Hmm.
and it was because I wasn't getting, like, I basically wasn't getting paid, like I was just like running this space because it was passion. And, you have to exist in capitalism. Like, you have to, like, there's some girls here in Chicago or in Austin that want to like basically open like a community space. And they were like asking me about the Boys and Girls Club. And I was like, the biggest piece of advice I can tell you is like pay yourself. Like make it so that you can sustain yourself. Because if you're running this program and not making any money, then you're not able to do the your money, and so
Yeah, you're not as beneficial to others if you can't take care of yourself.
exactly. Put on your own oxygen mask, right?
Yeah.
So,
How, how do you balance from the capitalism side of that? How do you balance? I don't know how the person that is funding it for the first year is funding it, but like balancing that somebody has to donate this much money, which are have enough income that they can
I
give
think
back to support a
sorry,
system and a
my
project.
thing cut out.
Sorry. Do I need to repeat what I was saying
Cut.
or what I
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
how,
my car shut
so
off.
the like you mentioned that the news that you had that somebody is self-funding for the first year and that there's others that are
Hmm.
funding the program that are have enough expendable income to support something that they care about. How do you balance that of like, you need funding, so you need the input of folks that have money that,
Um,
are pretty,
w-
are probably more capitalistic and have the funds to
yeah.
give back versus, being completely self-sustained and not need any money from the outside.
I mean, I think that it's like I think that that's a problem I'll have to like kind of understand later. Like, I don't know if I have an answer to that. I think that like I think in order for them to see that I was like really serious about the program, I had to have the GoFundMe. You know what I mean? And get money from the community and like in tandem with that proposal that like has the like projected like
Hmm.
runway. Um, because like in the proposal, it's very much something that I would have put together as like a large scale event, like when I was
Right.
running that, like it would be like these are our projected like KPIs for like how many people we can affect, like how many like what our target like interactions is, like all that stuff, and like the closest like locations that would be affected by like the thing, and then like because we used a um, uh, I just noticed there's a crack in my windshield. This is because we like we would use like coupons that were like related, and so it's like then I could like go on the back end and like talk about the metrics there.
Hmm.
Um, and like how like what those conversion rates were like once people like got into the shop, and like, I think that it's going to be kind of like a balancing act of like if like I'm wanting this program to like expand to like more of the clubs, like it's going to be like tracking those metrics of like how many kids were into it. Like when we were like piloting the program initially, it was like how many kids are in, like we asked all the kids like, did you like this? Would you do it again? Would you want to do like whatever? And then like, you know, like one of my favorite memories was like there was a day I was just loading kilns, and like the there's like two directors at each club. Like there's like the one who does programming, and then there's the one who like runs the club like in terms of like operations and like overarching budgets and stuff like that. And I remember like being in the room with like some of the kids while I was like loading a kiln, and like having like the director, like the like club director, like come up and like peek and like see that the kids were like working, and like just be so happy that like they were doing something, like because he was like, you pulled them out, it's kind of like I could tell that he was like checking on me, like because the kids are all like black kids, and like I'm, a white chick with like neon yellow hair, and he's like saw me like go to the gym and be like, MJ, Brandon, like, and like pull a bunch of the kids and be like, do you guys want to come upstairs with me? And I'm sure he thought, I don't know, like, he's being concerned for the kids and then seeing them like play. So I don't know. I mean, I think all that stuff is just gonna be the next like hurdle. But
Hmm.
the
Because a
first
lot of
year is
folks would
funded.
rely on something like grants or money like that and doing grant
Yeah.
proposals and grant writing to figure out where the next batch of money comes. Because if it's not,
Yeah. My friend,
because the parents or whoever in the community are not paying for classes necessarily because they might not have the income to pay for
exactly.
that. It's kind of built into the
Yeah.
money that they're paying. So,
My friend Melanie, the one who like she took a look at my proposal, she works at HUD, and she said that some of the money that they have um already goes to Boys and Girls Club. So like she told me she would be like willing to like help me um like kind of work on like a grant proposal for HUD money to like direct money from like HUD, because like HUD is housing and urban development, and it's basically about like um kind of like helping equalize inequalities in situations. And so if I think like one of my next steps will be like kind of focusing on that, like big picture. And uh I want to find out, I want to see if I can find out if like who gave the money to Boys and Girls Club. Um and if it wasn't that guy that like I went and knocked on his door, like I do want to follow up with him because I really think that he would like, I mean, he gave my ex like over 200K for like a less philanthropic project, and I think he has like the emotional bandwidth and capacity to like appreciate what I'm doing, and he like seemed really like receptive and responsive when I like talked to him
Mm-hmm.
at his house. So I had been talking to a friend, and his advice was, it's easier to get a large chunk of money less from like one person or a couple people than it is to like try to like crowdsource it. And I think that that's probably the case, but
Right. Because I mean, a lot of
we'll
this,
figure.
like what you've been talking about throughout here, it's all storytelling and the emotional side of like what benefit you're bringing to the individuals, and then you're
Yeah,
seeing the growth because especially if you've been there multiple years. I don't know if you've interacted with any of the kids that you've previously taught 4 years ago, but I'm sure you've seen like the progress, or if they start doing art, like a lot of, you know,
yeah,
it's kind of nice when I get to go back and see my high school art teachers or whatnot, and they kind of see that you're
yeah,
still doing it, and it's really enjoyable to be able to say, you actually helped me get
yeah,
started, and you're going to be
yeah,
that person for a lot of these kids going forward.
yeah. No, I actually showed the program director. It was a different program director than when I was there in 2022, 2023. But and I was like showing her pictures of like when I was doing it, and she was like, "Oh my God, Brandon's still here, MJ's still here." She's like, "Look at them, they're babies." And I was like, and so I haven't been able to interact with them because I have to they have like really strict like vetting process. So
Hmm.
I have to get a background check, and they have to make sure that I'm not gonna like steal the kids. But uh once I do, like I'm really excited to see them. Like I'll
But
definitely cry.
and then
But
some of those kids that got started with you, maybe they get to a certain age where they're able to teach, or they're able to like be a
yeah,
tech, a studio assistant, and they've learned from
exactly.
you, and then they stick around and they help influence the next generation of kids that are coming up and learning, and say like, "Hey, I took this 5 years ago and this is where I'm at now," and they're still supporting the group and they see the benefits and want to be a part of it,
Yeah,
and you know.
when I was at NCECA, when we were at the NCECA in Cincinnati, that was like kind of when I was like starting, like working on piloting the ceramics program. And so I went to, because like the Peterson-McCormick is a primarily like Black um community in Chicago. And so I went, there was like a bunch of like you know, like POC talks and stuff like that. And I was at I went to one of them, and there was like a Q&A, and I basically was like, cuz like I'm a white chick, right? So like I was just kind of like, you know, if I have this opportunity to do this thing, and I do, I mostly exist like, because ceramics is so expensive, it's basically mostly white people that do it in Chicago. Cuz and there are some like people of color, but they're not as many. And um and my friend Courtney wanted me to do it, and so I was like, what advice would you give me, like as a white woman going into these community, like into this community, like how can I be as respectful as possible, and basically like the advice was like, show up, and then eventually pass it off,
Hmm.
so like to your
You're giving
point,
them the
it's
tools
like,
that you learned and what you got excited
yeah,
about. You're giving them that excitement, You're giving them the tools to
Yeah.
understand how to make the work as well as like getting it, maintained and stuff with the studio and
Yeah. And then move on, and so it's like build the program and then move on. And so like I
hmm
do have the intention of, once it's self-sustaining, like going to another club, like teaching
hmm
these kids. Like the point is to teach
build the
them,
rubric and then
yeah, and then
yeah.
take it and move it somewhere else, and like just keep that going, and
hmm
like change the world. No, so yeah. But all right. Well, I have to go to the bathroom, so
Same
I
here.
need to get.
Well, thanks for joining us, Natalie. If you want people to
Yes,
look
thank
into it,
you.
we'll put the link to the GoFundMe in the show notes. But is there anything else you
Yeah.
want to plug or talk about that you want to send people to go to? Maybe your
I
Instagram
mean,
account or
yeah.
otherwise?
I mean, I'm a big feeling ceramics, so big underscore feeling underscore ceramics. You can um find the link there. I'm uh I'm like Becca on Instagram. It's definitely it's not a marketing tool for me. It's like a place of chaos. Like, so you
hmm
can kind of see like, what's going on in my brain on Instagram. So but my work is also on there, and there's a link to my website. And yeah, I mean, I also want to shout out Ryan McCurley, who's my friend who I'm staying with here. Love you so much. The Eye of the Dog Art Center, where I'm
hmm
and the Digs Chicago, all just like big love to my communities and
Nice. Are
whatnot.
you say you're doing some shows this year? Are they mostly around the Chicago area or are you traveling some for them?
So I'm doing Dirt Dauber at Eye of the Dog on May 16th and 17th. And then I'll get back to Chicago. I'm doing, I think, the Chicago Pottery Show. I forget what it's called. It's like 50 or 60 ceramic artists in Chicago doing a show by this place called Wilder House. I think I'm doing this Digs show at Half Acre, doing Bucktown Arts Fest. I've applied to a couple other shows that I haven't heard from yet, but I've got a pretty rigorous schedule this year. So
Okay.
it's
Nice.
probably the busiest year for me. So, but
And it
yeah,
sounds
check
like
out the
you've got a
Dig
variety of
Chicago.
work. You've got some soda, maybe some
Yeah,
wood, you've got some reduction, you've got all over.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Highly detailed
Oh, and Feats
work.
of
Yeah.
Clay, Feats of Clay here in Austin's where I'm working out of. I actually am working there part-time while I'm here. So,
Nice.
but yeah, shout out to everybody. Love you
Well,
guys all so much.
Natalie, great to meet you. And thanks to
Yeah,
Becca for getting us connected and having you on. I think it was a
yeah,
good conversation, and hopefully folks that are looking to do something like this for themselves or just want to support, um, you can
yeah.
check all
Reach
that out
out.
and reach out to Natalie if you want to understand more
Yeah,
about what she's doing or, how to go
yeah.
about it for yourself. So,
I would love to chat. I love community. So talk to me on the internet. That's how Becca and I became friends.
yeah.
That's how a lot of
Awesome.
my close friends became friends.
Slowly
So
getting that
thank you
web a
so
little
much.
bit wider. So, yeah. We're
Exactly.
all connected in
Awesome.
clay. So, thanks for joining us.
Exactly.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, all. Thank you for listening to the show. And we also want to thank Lindy and Ashley for all their help with everything that they've done over the years for Whale Talk. They are our Instagram heroes, and they answer all your questions and then send them to us if we need to. And we also want to thank you for listening and also participating. If you want to support our show, the best way to do that is to send us questions and to review us on whichever platform you are. So we haven't had very many reviews so far. I mean, you can even leave us a bad review. We'll make fun of you, but you can. And sending us questions always helps us with every episode that we do so that we can make it the best that we can. I hope you enjoyed the episode today, and I hope you enjoy this season.